Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another installment of ISV Connect Live. I'm happy to have Matt and Richard from SightCall join me actually in the afternoon and morning time because we are watching this from different areas of the world. But welcome. This is a show that we do with our BizApps ISV ecosystem, and happy to have a recent partner just joining to talk about the success and scenarios, because I think their use case, as you listen to, is pretty interesting in field service, remote service, etc. So before we get to Matt and Richard, a couple of quick housekeeping items. So throughout the show, feel free to engage in the conversation. So I'm going to put a little ticker symbol here. So first off, we'd love to hear where you're watching from. So maybe you're watching from the UK, where Richard's watching from. Maybe you're in the US like Matt and I are. I'm actually taking this call from my house, my home office in the Seattle, Washington area. But we'd love to hear from you. So we'll give a quick shout out as we're going through these quick introductions, and just do a shout out for where people are watching. The second is that during the dialogue, if there's something that Matt or Richard or I maybe share that you have a question on, there will be an opportunity towards the end, or just the natural conversation. I can actually pull that question up into the window and ask and put kind of not Matt and Richard on the spot, but just ask a question that they may be able to address in real time. And then also, if you can engage, we'd love to just see the engagement throughout the conversation. So if you just utilize one of the icons in the LinkedIn window, like, support, celebrate, etc., that also gives us the indication that the information, as we're sharing it throughout this event, is actually resonating with people. So without further ado, let me introduce Matt and Richard from SightCall to, first off, share what do they do? What do they do at at SightCall? And then my favorite question that I always open the show with is learning about people and allowing each of you to learn more about them. Is what is one thing that doesn't exist on the LinkedIn profile that they're willing to share? So maybe Matt, we'll start with you, and then we'll go to Richard.
All right, Matt. Great. Really excited to be here, Brian. Thank you. So I'm Matt Wolf. I head global partnerships at SightCall, and we'll talk about SightCall, but as you're saying, something about me that's not on the LinkedIn, actually it relates to SightCall just as much, which is really the commitment to volunteerism that nice. We have here. And so SightCall has designated multiple days of VTO, volunteer time off. And a lot of times we're doing this as teams, as groups. So the last one that I participated in was kind of cleaning up a beach with our team. Of course, in COVID, volunteerism means different things, more outdoors, etc. SightCall also has done a tree planting initiative where we've planted 3,000 trees in honor of our employees, our customers, and our partners. And then we also have a sustainability piece that we'll talk about more on the session here. So important for me and important for SightCall is the volunteerism aspect and kind of having the social value. And I think you'll see the technology also lends to that.
Well, bravo, Matt. As many people know who follow Microsoft, we also have a huge program that we have for our employees. And it's amazing to hear from you that SightCall does the same thing. And I'm a little jealous because clean up a beach sounds great. In Seattle, we do have beaches, but not probably like where you're at, because it's in the south.
It depends on what you find in the cleanup, but it's a good thing to do no matter what. Yeah.
That's right. Well, Richard, we'll go to you. So Richard, if you can explain, hey, what do you do? Because I know your role is slightly different from Matt. Maybe you can explain what you do at SightCall, and then what's one thing that's not on your LinkedIn profile.
Sure, yeah. So as Matt says, excited to be here today. So I'm Richard Forsyth. I've been with SightCall for around 4 years now, based out of our London office. And I look after sales across the UK and Northern Europe. Things that aren't on my LinkedIn profile, I guess one of the things, I'm a keen cyclist. Obviously, just watched the Cyclocross World Championships. They're based out in Arkansas this last weekend in the States. Nice to see a Brit winning that. But it's a hobby actually across the team. We've had our CEO and one of my colleagues who heads up the team out of Asia have done charity bike rides. So looking forward to coming out of COVID and maybe doing some team rides with some of the execs. They're a lot fitter than me, so it's easy to let them win, which is always good as well for my career. So yeah, looking forward to getting back to that.
Oh, I love it, Richard. So for those who've watched any of these shows, or just my team knows me, or the people at Microsoft, I'm a big Peloton rider. And so that's got me. Well, I was also an outdoor. I also I'm not competitive, but also enjoy outdoor cycling. But being in this, for those of you who know the Seattle weather, similar to probably London, it gets very rainy. And so going out in the wintertime is a little dangerous because, of course, it's slippery, but then you have cars going by you super quick. And so I tend to, in the wintertime, stay on a Peloton inside, but then outside do exactly probably what you enjoy doing. So great. Thank you for sharing, Richard. So I'm going to do a quick shout out too for people watching. So Eric, thank you for watching from Dallas, Texas. That's actually warm. I'm assuming it's probably warm, really warm there compared to here. We have John from Cincinnati, Ohio. So thanks, John, for making the time. And then, of course, our nice friend, Lucy. I always try to pronounce this. I never have the British pronunciation, but Gloucestershire. And so it's good. Yeah, it's actually sunny because usually Lucy comments when she does get a chance to watch these things. It's not as pleasant as probably today is. So let's get started with maybe just the open-ended conversation for both you, Matt, and Richard. Is your perspectives of what does SightCall do, and then what are the outcomes that we jointly drive together when you think about a organization and a business problem? What are the things that you help us solve together jointly when we go after this market together? And maybe we can start with you, Matt. And then
we'll start with me and pass it to Richard also. So SightCall is the leader for visual support and AR. And what does that mean? It's actually relatively easy use cases to understand, which has to do with turning your smartphone around, usually with in consumer use cases and technician use cases. So think on the consumer side, if you're at home, your appliance breaks down, washing machine, workout appliance, workout equipment, I should say, the ability to call into the company and immediately escalate to a visual session where you're turning your phone around and you're getting real-time guidance on fixing, maintenance, having the ability for that company to see what I see, annotate, use various OCR functionality to barcode functionality to recognize assets. And very importantly, this is integrated into Microsoft seamlessly. So we are integrated into Dynamics, customer service, and field service. So if you're in the console, if you're an agent in the console, then you can immediately escalate to this visual session and support your customers' use cases. So what does that do? Of course, for companies, it decreases their truck rolls. That's probably one of the most important value propositions, right? We've had truck rolls quantified at $150 each, and it can range, but that quickly adds up, right? So, and it also improving NPS scores and improving first-time fix, all the things that Microsoft is thinking about on the customer service and field service side. Additionally, there's stories about a sustainability value, which we mentioned before. So we have measured our service customers and we've reduced truck rolls by about 50%, 50. And that is a very large sustainability story. It's a focus for us. We've introduced recently a CO2 calculator that can help our customers measure their sustainability traction. Additionally, for these, and again, these can be consumer use cases, I think is where we are playing the most with Microsoft, and Richard will talk about some of our customer use cases. It can also be field service use cases, and there can be guidance also. We have digital flows from SightCall that Richard will talk about more that are giving real-time guidance at your fingertips. So an expert or a technician can have kind of a process data come right through to them, work through that flow, escalate to visual where needed, and it just increases compliance and increases the likelihood of a successful fix. So those are some of the big topics for us. By the way, it's very much enterprise focused for SightCall. So and horizontal, we go across all major industries. With Microsoft, I think we are focused in some of Microsoft's key areas, which would be retail use cases, consumer use cases for utilities, for manufacturing and other key verticals that are important for Microsoft. The last thing I'll mention is that we are also integrated to Teams. So some people say, well, Teams is also a video technology, but this is really very complementary, right? So the ability to be in a Teams meeting that might be a face-to-face collaborative meeting, you have the ability to escalate to SightCall if it becomes more of a, an asset review that is going into Dynamics, et cetera. We also have integration to Outlook, but this is a partnership with Teams as well as the Dynamics side, the Outlook side. So we're looking to grow that partnership across as many Microsoft technologies as possible. We have more and more of an Azure story at the same time. So we're very committed here. Quite important for us. Maybe Richard, do you want to add any color to some of the use cases?
Yeah, just echo quite a lot of what Matt says there. Firstly, in that immediate kind of B2C environment, you've got the kind of holy trinity of improving customer experience, reducing the resource and truck rolls, and just really compressing that mean time to restore a service, which, everyone's looking to do that. But people have this kind of on-demand requirement now. They want something now. And I think that fits really nicely into our digital flow story. So with the integration into a system like a Dynamics, a back office system there, and having that ability to reach out directly to a user in the field, whether that is one of your own technicians or whether it's one of your customers, you can then start to drive outcomes using that kind of self-serve capability that you start to understand from digital flows. And we leverage our platform to do that. So our global reach, our reliable connectivity out to that remote guest, and enable them to then self-serve where possible, sending up information as needed into our customers' back office and database, helping them to drive business decisions as they work through a process. And at any point, you offer that guest the ability to escalate to a live expert. So, they feel as though they've got that complete, guidance as they're working through, but you're capturing the information you need. And some of the examples, we work in environments such as oil and gas. So, looking at inspections in an oil and gas environment, it's critical that you've got information that you can then store and capture and refer back to later, particularly if you're doing things like safety audits. So having that ability to get that captured information, putting it directly into your back office systems, like in a Dynamics environment that you can then take and go back and look through from an audit perspective. And I think Matt touched on it there with the sustainability side as well. Most organizations I talk to these days are working towards some kind of sustainability index, driving down their carbon usage. And if they can actually then go back and audit and demonstrate that to an auditor at a later date, that obviously puts them at a greater advantage in their marketplace. So, I think working together with the dynamic system, as Matt says, as we move out further into that ecosystem, I think that just brings better outcomes both for ourselves and then also our customers and partners as we work through that.
Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
Just to add, Richard mentioned the concept of our platform, which I think is important, as far as what's the value proposition, what's the differentiator for working with Microsoft. We come from a telco background. Our founders came from places like UUNet and the origins of the internet, and they went away for over 5 years and built this true video platform. And most of the video assistance technology out there today is on more of a commodity of video platform, and that leads to a lot more value, the fact that we have our own platform, because there's so much customization needed. So to have that at our fingertips, to have our own admin console that our customers can use and we can tune things up, it also leads to more compliance, right? So we have HIPAA, SOC 2, GDPR compliance. That's very important for our customers, and we're very much API wrapped. So these integrations with Microsoft happen very quickly. We go into all sorts of systems that branch out from Microsoft, and we can all stay within the same system. And by the way, that data, again, it's coming right out of the console of Dynamics customer service and field service. And then the data is being stored directly into Microsoft. We're not holding data. We're more stateless, and we're getting that data back into Microsoft. So those are some important points I wanted to add.
I love it, Matt and Richard. Gosh, you hit all the things I typically ask, just all a nice one amazing thing with industry relevancy. Granted, there's a lot of cross industry, but I think Richard too, you hit it spot on. It's like not just consumer, but the oil and gas industry or utilities or anywhere where, to your point, inspections is a critical thing, because we see that a lot in our customers, where you have a lot of enterprise customers that have to do that to ensure no breakdowns or safety in particular. I think the other one that you hit it really well, Matt, is the concept, because we all are consumers. We all imagine like you get something and something breaks at home. And I can think of the time we recently had a refrigerator fixed, because like refrigerators have a lifespan. All of a sudden the cooling breaks down. And so what do? And you call someone. But the idea and the concept you described, which is, what if you could take out your phone, grab all this information, the serial number, maybe a visual of what's actually happening, so that even before they send a technician out, to your point, that maybe it could be something that you can fix yourself. How often does someone say, well, did you turn it on? And sometimes when you're trying to hear someone say that versus kind of showing, and then someone can say, oh, that place where you're actually trying to turn it on, it's not there, it's over here. And they can send a picture. And so I'm assuming those are some of the use cases you're referring to. And I think also exciting is that someone could take their phone, I'm assuming this is a use case, take their phone and have that be the interaction point to the representative on the other side, or HoloLens. I think the other component would be, there's probably, I assume, some type of HoloLens interaction that SightCall can actually also do, taking advantage of someone who even takes it a step further and actually leverages one of our AR, VR headsets to go and support field technicians. Would that be a fair summary?
So I'll mention on the HoloLens, right? So Microsoft has technology that's connected in with HoloLens that, we want to remain very complementary. So, and work with that Microsoft technology. So, there are different opportunities with that to connect into the field service side, but at the same time, we're not going into the HoloLens too deeply at this point.
But it is actually it's an interesting point though as well, because ultimately, if you can connect something into a device, then you can use that as the interface camera. I mean, we've had examples of organizations using us on drones, so inspecting things like telecoms towers and wind turbines. So anything where you can take an input. I mean, in the insurance space, people use drones to do roof inspections and damage inspections. So it's that kind of thing of actually leveraging technology that's there, but then using something that we all have. Everyone's, very rarely less than a few feet away from their smartphone. So ultimately using that as the connectivity conduit to then capture the information and bring it back to the expert. So it's an interesting field to play in.
Yeah, no, thanks, Richard. Yeah, I think that's an amazing use case. And you think about the insurance side and financial services. Yeah, I mean, I think you're spot on, because that when natural catastrophes or things happen, that type of quick thing, because you see even here in the news, those types of situations where insurance companies actually have a drone team, certified people who are FAA certified to actually fly things around and do that as an input. That's great. I'm going to do a quick shout out. So before we get to the ecosystem question, again, thank you everyone for watching this engagement with Matt and Richard from SightCall. Quick shout out to David from Southern California. And yeah, he is typically sunny there. I'm always jealous. Teresa, thanks for watching near Columbia, Maryland. MD for anyone outside the US, MD is Maryland. And then Olivier or Oliver, I'm not sure. I always never sure of the name pronunciation, but thanks. Olivier or Oliver, sorry if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. You're welcome. You might be watching from, you're part of SightCall, but no, you're super welcome, and we appreciate SightCall's engagement in this call. So maybe the next question would be maybe directed to you, Matt, is what has been the experience? I mean, you touched on it, but what's been that because you've recently been, what recruit is not the right word, but recently come into the Microsoft ecosystem. What has that experience been like? Maybe Richard, you could touch on it too when Matt says provides his insight.
It's been really outstanding experience, Brian, and we're very thankful for the team that we work with at Microsoft. I've worked with a lot of different partners and partner folks, and there can be a range of experience for kind of the speed at which things move and the support and the engagement and the introductions. And the Microsoft team has been phenomenal, really world-class. And, SightCall, by the way, we're headquartered in the San Francisco area in California, but we're kind of co-managed by both the US and the UK. So big shout out to Lucy Bourne, who's on here and has been awesome to work with and get us up and running. We also work with John O'Donnell, who is on this call, also gotten great support. And so Microsoft has a very strong practice, kind of a methodology for bringing partners on board quickly, breaking through any challenges, getting us the right dev orgs, the demo orgs, all the blocking and tackling is kind of put into a seamless process. So we can really focus on getting out there commercially. And we've been pulled into a lot of different partner forums, customer forums, engaged with sales teams, product teams. And so we're very pleased with how we've got up and running with Microsoft.
I love it, Matt. Oh, thank you. And I appreciate the compliment, because John is actually part of my team. And then, of course, working super closely with Lucy, who's closely works with our teams, but based in the UK. Before I get to the next question, anything else to add from your standpoint, Richard, from a selling aspect of it?
I mean, I would just say, that partner play, having it work complementary, particularly, from my side, from a sales perspective, is really, really great as well, because having that engagement, understanding, aligning how we go to market with how you go to market. And I think opening up those kind of conversations with industry experts. So people, we across the UK, we work in some of the sectors, local government as well as utilities and insurance space. So having the ability to talk with the expert teams there and actually then understand exactly how our service will go into that marketplace has been really helpful. And again, people like Lucy have been a great help for that, introducing us to the right people at the right time.
I love it. And so that's a good segue to our next question about customer stories and outcomes, because the great thing is that I love to see where I sit in my role is just seeing the success of, once we get a partner enrolled and listed in our app source, quote unquote, marketplace, seeing the early success. And we've seen that. And so maybe we could, since we have you currently focused, Richard, maybe we could start with you and talk about what are some of the stories. I mean, you mentioned oil and gas, but maybe some of the stories that you can specifically maybe go deeper into, and then Matt, we can get your perspective as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think where we play really well is across both the B2C and B2B environment. And actually, one of the verticals that screams out there is utilities. We've had a great experience recently working with a major water utility in the UK. Now, if you think about that environment, you've got the engagement with customers. So someone ringing up when there's some kind of local disaster, like a leak in their property or something along those lines. So you have to be able to immediately understand how serious it is, try and help them resolve the issue quickly, but then also understand from your perspective as a utility, how you can manage that problem. And so having the ability from that perspective, from the customer's contact environment, to then escalate directly into a live session and capture the relevant information. So whether that's a geolocate to see the kind of area that's affected by a leak or something like that, moving through into looking at how much water is coming out, and then, it has an environmental impact, and they measure that and that kind of immediate customer experience. So from that side, and then, eliminating that kind of wastage, that's something that we, when we look back at the sustainability, water utilities are measured against the amount of water that is wasted and leaks. So, capturing that information and understanding, working alongside the Microsoft team, who have a really deep engagement in this particular customer, has been great from that side. And then also flipping that across onto the B2B environment, because obviously those customer teams are then working directly with their own engineering teams to get the right resources out. Even things, if they have to dig up the road, They can have a look at the road. Do I need to put traffic measures in place? Do I need to close the road? Do I need to consult with additional resources? And all of that's then tied back into that central repository for information. So, you've got every element of the teams as they work through that. The customers kept informed, the engineering teams, the health and safety, and the compliance side, so that by leveraging that back office integration that we have with Microsoft Dynamics, you're able to then demonstrate directly to your key business sponsors there the value that joint proposition delivers. And again, it's the standard things. It's reducing wasted dispatches, it's speeding up the resolution, and ultimately, particularly in a regulated market like any kind of utility, that customer experience is something that is measured, and they're certainly their kind of contracts are really measured against that. So it's critical that they can demonstrate that from start to finish. So for me, that's been a great start to the relationship, certainly, and it's really demonstrated to our joint teams, both on the SightCall side and also on the Microsoft side, that kind of value that the joint proposition can bring.
I love it. That's well said, Richard, because again, so many good nuggets in there around the use cases and the impact that has on businesses, on speed to resolution, and just the quality of the experience that end customer has, whatever that end customer may be. So Matt, we'll go to you. What's your, do you have a favorite customer story, a customer story that you want to
I think Richard covered most, just 30 seconds on, one of our largest US customers with Microsoft is one of the largest inspection companies. And so inspection is a really interesting use case. As you can imagine, see what I see, the compliance, the tracking the data, the bringing it into Dynamics, the escalation from teams, all those things come into play with inspection. And the last thing I'll mention is the implementation, is how fast that is for SightCall. That's an important concept. Great. We're seeing with Microsoft customer service and field service, like any really robust system, it can take 3 months, it can take 6 months, it can take longer to get a true implementation, really be up and running at speed. SightCall is up in a matter of days. In most cases, amazing at large enterprises. So this helps the Microsoft sales teams. It's a fast time to value that the customer gets in the meantime, while the implementation is coming online and getting into production. So that's something we've seen working with the Microsoft sales teams that's been of value.
I love it. That's great. And I think because as we talked in the pre-call, just the constituents of people we have on the phone, that time to value for not just the Microsoft seller, but more importantly, the customer. They can buy that scenario and all those use cases that you and Richard had shared, immediately see within, I love it. When I hear days, I'm like, I was impressed, like, wow, that's pretty impressive when someone goes from whatever they're doing and they can immediately see that realized value in a very short period of time, while continuing to drive the integrations and the complexities that we know many end customers have in certain industries, but they can immediately get that value almost within days of that, which is great to see. So as we wrap up, and again, I'd love the opportunity. We have about a few minutes left. And if there's a question that you'd like me to ask Richard or Matt from SightCall, I'm happy to do so. But as we transition to the final question, Matt and Richard, which is, how do people learn more? You offered so many great nuggets between both of you on the use cases and the scenarios. And if I'm a partner, or I'm a potential customer, or if I'm a Microsoft seller, maybe both of you from your perspectives can touch on how do I learn more? And of course, we're doing this on LinkedIn Live. So one of the things I always encourage people to do, of course, is reach out to any of us on LinkedIn. Send us a LinkedIn message, send a connection request. It's a great way to stay digitally connected and continue the conversation. But maybe both of you can touch on how do people potentially learn more based upon, again, if they're a partner or a potential customer buyer or a Microsoft seller.
Yeah, I can take this, Brian, which is to say, absolutely. On LinkedIn, we maintain a strong profile. So come find us on LinkedIn, connect with us, see our content there. Also, of course, our website, sightcall.com. Email me directly, matt.wolf, matt.wolf at sightcall.com. Or we also have alias bizdev at sightcall.com. So, engage in any of these ways. We want to obviously speak with any customers are interested out there, Microsoft sales teams, Microsoft product teams. We're doing a lot with the different product teams, and we want to talk to as many of them as we'll have a conversation. So please reach out. Really excited for this forum and all the support from your team, Brian, and the partner team at Microsoft. So thanks again.
My pleasure. And I have a quick, this points to the actual SightCall listing in our app source, which is aka.ms/SightCall. Richard, anything else that you'd like to add before we wrap up the call?
Just to say, I mean, I'd echo what Matt said there. You know, we've got multiple channels out there. We've also got a lot of, on our YouTube channel, there's a lot of video content there. One of the things I always find is great. Certainly, I mean, I'm a salesperson, so I would, but our customers love to talk about the benefits they've had. We've got a number of videos that either customers have made themselves or we've made as joint productions, but demonstrating the value that we bring. And it is, for all the capabilities and feature sets we have, it's a simple value prop. You know, we are improving the efficiency of those resources. We're speeding up those times to resolve issues and improving customer fix experience. And so ultimately, you know, you can see that in a number of videos, and it's quite a useful library to go and look at.
Gosh, well, thank you again, Matt and Richard. So as we wrap up, thank you all for watching live, or if you're watching the replay, again, feel free to reach out to any one of us if you're watching this maybe later today or within 72 hours. Matt and Richard would definitely love to hear from you, or even myself to just understand maybe where the questions may come from. So as we wrap up, I do just for everyone who wants to hang on for just a few more seconds when I close out with Matt and Richard. Speaking of what Richard mentioned, we actually do have a video. What we've done in these live events now is get a nice less than a minute video from our ISVs like SightCall to give that, again, value proposition at the end so that people can, again, really understand and resonate with the great content that Matt and Richard shared. So Matt and Richard, thank you again so much for making the time on a Monday to speak with me. We truly appreciate the relationship and the partnership we have with SightCall. And again, I hope everyone continues to stay safe, be well. Richard and Matt, anything else to add before we close out the call?
Just thanks for having us. This is great. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for the time. Really enjoyed it. So have a good rest of your day.
Okay, sounds good. Well, everyone can stay on for the quick 1 minute video, and we'll talk soon, everybody. Take care.